Tonight is on a island. It's about time we're making up. I told you wasn't with you waking up. Now you feel seductive.
Hello and welcome to a brand new video. So today I wanted to talk about something that is very important if you are going through your personal growth journey. Just something that's really gonna make your life easier, make you have better relationships with yourself, better relationships with other people in your life. And I just think that it's super important to have this. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about boundaries, right? Boundaries, I feel like, are something that I had to learn a lot about during my personal growth and my healing journey. And it has been a real game changer, just learning about it, learning about my attachment style, but really learning about boundaries, just because I feel like, me personally, I have problems with implementing boundaries. I have problems with implementing boundaries mainly in my romantic relationships. I will say that I do feel like, personally, I have really good boundaries with my family. If we get into an argument or we're in an argument, I'm very quick to just, you know what, we're not gonna have this conversation right now. I feel like we should just not talk about this right now and talk about this later, or, you know, regroup, take our few days to not speak, and then, you know what I'm saying, come back to it and talk when we're both like in a good headspace. Same thing with my friends. I feel like me and my friends, we've been able to have our differences and have been able to come back and have mature conversations without it ending our friendship or anything like that. My problem mostly came with having boundaries in my romantic relationships. Like I've said in previous videos, I am someone that just gives people that, you know, that I love way too many chances, and I stay longer than I should. And a reason for that is because I don't have good boundaries when it comes to my romantic relationships. I don't know why it is. I feel like, well, I do know why. That's part of your personal growth journey, learning about boundaries, is you find out why. I do know why. I do know that I was operating a lot in fear. I was afraid that if I, you know, told them not to do certain things, or if I ended up leaving or whatever the case may be, I would end up alone, or I was afraid to lose that person. So I wasn't really strict with my boundaries when I should have been really strict with my boundaries with this person. So learning about boundaries and just learning that this is important for me if I'm gonna have a romantic relationship with somebody or be in relationships with people. This is going to show people how to treat me. This is going to show people how to respect me. This is going to show people how to, you know, have this relationship with me. And it's going to also just make me have better relationships in general. Like, having boundaries, having people respect your boundaries, it's gonna make you feel valued, it's gonna make you feel respected, it's gonna make you feel like you matter. And if someone loves you and they care about you, it doesn't matter if you implement some boundaries. It doesn't matter if, you know what I'm saying, you tell them like, you know what, this isn't okay with me, I'm not cool with this. If they value you, if they love you, if they respect you, they're going to respect your boundaries. It's not gonna change the relationship, it's not gonna change anything. If anything, it's gonna make your relationship better. So like I said, for me, learning about boundaries was more so about learning to have boundaries for my romantic relationships, because I just feel like I just had none. And so I learned a lot about boundaries during this time of like personal healing and like personal growth. And one way that I learned about boundaries is by reading this book that I highly suggest that everyone reads. It is called Set Boundaries, Find Peace. And I forgot the author's name, but when I tell you guys, this book is a game changer when it comes to like personal development and just personal growth. I highly recommend that everyone reads this. Not only does it talk about how to navigate having boundaries and implementing boundaries with like friends, family, and romantic relationships, it also talks about implementing boundaries when it comes to work, when it comes to social media, and just things like that, things that we deal with on an everyday basis. Also, what I really liked about this book is that at the end of each chapter, it had journal questions that went with the chapter. So let's say if you had a chapter about family, it talked about boundaries with family. If it was a chapter about work, it talked about how to, ask you questions about boundaries for work and things like that. It also had a quiz that showed you what kind of person you were when it came to boundaries. So, you know, we all have our different ways of dealing with situations and different ways of setting boundaries. Some people can be very super strict and they shut down and they don't speak to anybody. Some people are complete people pleasers. They just let people run all over them. Some people are in the middle, you know? So they had a quiz that kind of showed you where you were in the spectrum, so you kind of know how to navigate those situations. So now that I know this is the kind of person that I am, now I know where my problems are and what I need to work on. And I feel like that's super important when you're learning about things like this. You need to learn about where you are in the spectrum. That way you know how to properly, you know, navigate the situations and how to properly do the things that you need to do to make this work for you, you know? So again, I really recommend that you guys read this book. It wasn't that long of a read, and it had so much information on there, and it just really put a lot of things into perspective. The questions were really good. The journal questions were really good, and I highly recommend it. I'm gonna go ahead and link that book in my description box below. You guys can get it through my Amazon storefront. Super good. I highly suggest that everyone does that. Another thing that I did that really helped me with just having better boundaries, knowing about boundaries, and just implementing better boundaries is journaling. I have started journaling, I would say probably like in July of last year, and I've been on and off with journaling, but I've been more serious with it now. Like now I have a certain section of my day where I sit down and I journal. And when I tell you guys, it has been such a game changer for me when it comes to like my personal growth and just feeling better and everything like that. I feel like journaling is just so freeing. Like you're able to just talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about without judgment, without fear of being, you know, ridiculed, or, you know, just, you know, there's things that you just don't want to share with other people. Like you just don't want to share with them. There's things that you really don't want to talk about with other people. And I still feel like it's important that you go ahead and find an outlet to express these feelings or express these emotions. And I found that journaling has been that outlet for me. Like I'm able to say what I want to say and get that off my chest without necessarily having to share with anybody. And even though it makes no sense, or like, you know, I shouldn't be feeling this way, or I'm delusional, but whatever, it's in my journal, no one can see it but me, and it makes me feel good that I was able to express this feeling without, you know, feeling judged. And I can look back at it later and be like, okay, like this was just thought, like it wasn't serious. And I'm glad we were able to just, you know, express that without actually taking action on this or whatever the case may be. So journaling has been really great. The way I journal, I do like sometimes just journal about my day. So sometimes I will just be like, oh, you know, my day was blah, 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 this happened, blah, 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 if my days were eventful or if something happened in my day. But I don't really have too much going on, so I don't really have too many things happening. So a lot of times I really go like on Pinterest, or I'll go or on Google, and I'll find journaling questions on specific things. So I'll look up like shadow work, or I'll look up boundaries or personal growth, whatever it is that I'm interested in during that time, childhood trauma, whatever. And I'll journal about that. And I learned that when I was going through like my phase of learning about boundaries, I asked myself these questions like, okay, so why do I question myself? Why do I feel this way? What do you think where do you think this stems from? You know, one thing that I learned that I feel like has a huge impact on why we might not have good boundaries and why we might lack boundaries as adults, or we don't know how to implement them or navigate them correctly, is because we kind of live in a society where boundaries aren't really a thing that we're taught. Like when we were kids, we were kind of told everything, like what to do, what to wear, what to eat, what to like, what not to like, by our parents. Like that's normal in our society, to have our parents choose everything for us as children. And while I do believe that, you know what I'm saying, kids definitely need guidance. Like I don't believe that, you know, a child knows everything. I do believe that as kids, especially because we've all been kids, so we know when we like something. We know when something feels good. We know when something is good for us. we don't really, we're able to make those decisions on our own, but we're told as children that, you know what I'm saying, we're not smart enough to make those decisions, or we're not adults, or we're not grown enough, we haven't been through things to know how to make these decisions. But yet we do know, like, we know when we don't like a certain food when we were kids. When you were a kid, you know what kids you liked and what kids you didn't like. When you were a kid, you know what adult was weird and which one wasn't. When you were a kid, you knew what clothes you liked and what clothes you didn't like. Like, no one had to show you that. You knew that naturally. So I really feel like that just has a huge impact in, like, having autonomy over ourselves. Like, if we have been told time and time again, you don't know how to make the right decisions, when you grow up to be an adult, you're gonna be thinking that, like, am I smart enough to make this decision? Do I have the capacity to make this decision? I feel like that for me and how I grew up, you know, that's how it was in my household. Like, my parents made a lot of my decisions for me. I never really was able to make a lot of decisions as a kid. And so that affected me. Now I do notice that as an adult, I'm very indecisive, or I'll sit there and I'll contemplate a lot. And I feel like if maybe as a child, I would have had more of a say-so on what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do, and more of an autonomy over my own decisions. As an adult, I would be more confident in making these decisions. So I journal about this. You know, I ask myself these questions like, well, what are some things that happened as a child where I wasn't able to make this decision? And if I was able to make this decision, what would I have done differently that my parents chose for me? So asking yourself those deep questions and just going into those questions that may be a little bit uncomfortable, I journal about them. It really helps me reflect on it. I like to go back on it sometimes when I'm questioning something or I think about something. I'll go back and I'll be like, okay, well, I know that I feel this way because of this happened in my childhood, and this is why I have this attachment style. You know, this happened in my childhood, this is why I don't feel confident in making certain decisions in this area in my life. This happened in my childhood or when I was a teenager, this is why I have trust issues in this problem. Like, you just learn a lot about yourself when you're journaling. So I highly recommend that you get a journal, a notebook, whatever, on your iPad, notes, whatever you feel comfortable doing, and really start journaling and asking yourself these questions. Like, it really is going to help you just reveal a lot of things to yourself. And then as you're going through your personal growth journey, as you're learning more, as you're navigating things, you can go back to it, you can see your growth, you know, really measure it. I feel like it's really, really good. Like I said, I've been journaling now for months, and now it's a habit. Like, I have to journal. Like, I can't go to sleep without journaling. And when I tell you, it's been so, like, just freeing and just relieving, being able to just address any things that I want to address without judgment and fear. Game changer. So I hope you guys like these tips. I'm not an expert, you know, on setting boundaries, but I do feel like it was something that I wanted to talk about and just get this idea out there in your head. If you're not someone who has thought about boundaries yet, if you're not someone who knows too much about boundaries, to just learn about them and just start making that, you know, making this something that you might want to work on and learn about, and see where you lack boundaries, or see where you have too many boundaries. You know what I'm saying? Like, just learning about this and just knowing this, I feel like it's super important just for your personal growth. So I really hope this helps you out. I really hope you guys read that book. Like, I'm telling you, that book is a game changer. And journal. Journaling is bomb. Like, I'm telling you, it's one of the best things I've done. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts down below. Make sure you're following me on Instagram, keeping up with V_. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.